it's Russ from the Infectious Groove podcast and vinyl channel. There's been a whole lot of activity in the world of Garth Brooks and vinyl over the past year and a half, 2 years, but there was one big omission from all the Garth Brooks activity, and I'm going to share an original pressing with you today, coming right up. So one big omission from all the vinyl that's been reissued or issued in the first place due to how vinyl fell off in the US in the late 90s was the catalog of Garth Brooks. And being a collector for as long as I have, I kind of looked into a little bit about what was pressed from Garth before all the recent activity years ago, probably 7-8 years ago. I took a look on Discogs, and at the time I was able to find that his debut record, his second album, his third, and possibly his fourth were available as original pressings, but they were outrageously expensive. Even this is before the vinyl boom. Even 6, 7, 8 years ago, they were all going for around $100 or so, something along those lines. So to be honest, I just kind of passed on everything and thought it's not something that I'm in desperate need for on vinyl, except for his third album, Ropin The Wind, which is the only one that at the time I was like, okay, if I'm going to buy one of these early Garth Brooks LPs, it's going to be Ropin The Wind. When all of the big flurry of activity occurred in the last couple of years from Garth Brooks on vinyl, I was overjoyed. You know, a lot of these rare pressings that I have, I'm never a hoarder type guy, like, oh, I don't want anybody else to have that. A lot of these things I've bought because I want to enjoy them, but I'm also like, man, I really wish that would get a reissue. So all of a sudden, Garth Brooks announced the Legacy vinyl set, and a lot of fans assumed that it was going to have the essential first albums in there. And his first album and this one, the third one, Ropin The Wind, were left out of those vinyl box sets. Now, it was made clear from the beginning that those were not going to be in the set. So there was no disappointment like, oh, you're getting all of his original albums, and then they just didn't include these. I've heard a bunch of different rumors and nothing really confirmed as to why, but what I have heard makes sense. A lot of people are saying that the first and third albums had rights issues with some of the songwriters at the time that those box sets were made, so they just left those out for then. And it also could be a marketing thing too. If you want to sell box sets in the future, you leave out some essential albums from the first set and you can include them in the latter. So it could be a mixture of the two. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, but today's video is about an original pressing of Ropin The Wind, which is his third album. Now, I got this off of Discogs from overseas outside the US. There again, probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and at that time I paid around $100 for it. Last I looked, there weren't even any for sale on Discogs, so I don't even know what it would be going for today if somebody was going to end up looking for an original pressing of it. And just, I make videos like this for anybody who might be curious what an original pressing looks like, or if they've never seen one, or if you just don't know for sure if there's a Discogs listing and you don't know it exists. The original pressings of Ropin The Wind do exist. Now, this particular album is important to me because it's the one that got me into Garth Brooks. At the time that this came out, I was a young kid that wanted nothing to do with country music at all, of any sort. Not Johnny Cash, Charlie Pride, Merle Haggard, anybody that would Travis Tritt, anybody that was newer at the Alan Jackson, Dwight Yoakam. I didn't want anything to do with anybody. And then on top of that, Garth was making a lot of waves in the music industry for going up against rock acts at like the American Music Awards, the Grammys, and really making a lot of waves. So it was like a young punk type thing, like, oh, who's this guy? I don't want anything to do with him, that type of thing. And I ended up working overnight doing floor cleaning and stuff with a guy who had 2 cassettes with him for the entire night shift, and one of them was Ropin The Wind. I don't even remember what the other one was because Ropin The Wind was a brand new album at the time, and that was his jam. So I ended up hearing this album on repeat, literally for 8-hour overnight shifts for like an entire week. And even upon first listen, it's not that I had to listen to on repeat. It's not like a brainwashing type situation, but even upon first listen, when you hear songs like What She's Doing Now, Cold Shoulder, The River, Shameless, right from the start with Against the Grain, they're just fantastic songs. If anything, I probably took a good 3 shifts to continue to push it. Oh no, that's terrible. I don't want to hear that. It's fantastic, fantastic music. So for me, it was the gateway into everything else Garth. For a lot of even casual Garth fans, some of the biggest hits that he had are on this record. You're not going to find Much Too Young or The Dance or Friends in Low Places on here, but you are going to find The River, like I mentioned, What She's Doing Now, Rodeo, which if you've ever been to a Garth Brooks show is almost always the second song played, or very close to the top of the show. And it's one of those songs that if you go into the show thinking, oh, I don't even know this song all that well, by the second chorus you're singing along with it. It's an awesome, big, huge sing-along, crowd getter going song. It's a very Garth song. For me, this is just a fantastic storytelling country album. Yeah, there's stuff on here, you know, there's literally a song about a trucker being lonely, but it's done in such a way that it's just a great song that almost anybody can connect with. The song's called Cold Shoulder. Lonesome Dove, I think, is a classic on here. It was never released as a single, but if you go see Garth in concert, a lot of people have signs wanting to hear that song. Just a fantastic song and storytelling. And Burning Bridges, same way. There's some fun on here too, like Papa Loved Mama, another favorite that I don't think was ever an official single. As far as the actual pressing goes, pretty decent, especially for a 90s pressing. The actual cover is thicker than what I'm used to for early 90s pressings. Not the thickest cardboard in the world, but on average, I'd put it on par with whatever is out there today being produced, the most common pressings that are out there for new stuff. Really, the only complaint that I have about it is it almost appears cover art wise like all they did was took the CD long box and put it on the front and then just blackbarred it on either side, almost a reverse letterboxing, I guess. And I have a Warrant pressing Dog Eat Dog that I did a video on as well that's almost the same way. So it's just kind of strange that they didn't crop the picture at all. If you've seen any of the new Garth re-releases from the Legacy box set, they're all full cover, so that's kind of odd. Almost the exact same thing on the back, just kind of like the CD long box on the back and then black bars on either side. Certainly not the end of the world. Other than that, the cover that I got ended up being in good shape. There's a couple of little bend marks, but no scrapes or scratches or anything. But the overall packaging looks fine. The LP itself is fairly decent. There are some issues, and this might have been another thing that might have held this back from being included in the box set, is that all of the LPs that are in the Legacy box sets are single LP albums, except for the Triple Live album. And there is definitely some inner groove distortion on this pressing from about the halfway point of the last song on each side, which is a little interesting. I don't know if maybe putting it over 2 LPs would clarify that. I don't know if it's a bad mastering job in the first place, because again, early 90s, you kind of get what you get with those pressings. Having said that, the first song till about the halfway point on the last track on each side sound absolutely fantastic, sound as good or better than I've ever heard the record. But that inner groove distortion is really present on both of them. And what's sad about that is that it's during Shameless rounds outside one, which is a huge, fantastic Garth ballad. Well, Billy Joel wrote it, but Garth's known for it. And then the record closes out with The River, which is another big, huge ballad that Garth is well known for. So for it to, both of those songs to have a little bit of inner groove distortion on them is a little bit disappointing. But I have to assume that if and when the record is re-released, we will get something of a fix for that. Again, whether it goes to 2 LPs or just a better mastering job, I'm not sure how that's going to look. Hopefully, because I do shoot these videos a little bit in advance, I would love it if by the time this video comes out, everybody goes, well, why didn't he just buy the reissue? I would love it if, in the next couple of weeks or month or so, we hear about a reissue coming of this record and those questions are answered. But in the meantime, if that ends up not being the situation, then I just wanted people to know, if you're looking into an original pressing, that's my experience with an original pressing. If this is your first time on the channel today, thanks for stopping by. I hope this is the video that makes you go, yep, I think I'm going to subscribe to that channel. We do have new vinyl videos every Thursday and Saturday, and the biggest part of the channel for me is, besides a sense of community, is those comments below. So if you have any Garth on vinyl before the Legacy set, or if you just want to discuss the Legacy set, or if you have more questions on this, by all means get in the comment section below. Love to chat with you. No matter if you're subscribed or not, you're going to leave a comment or not, maybe hit that thumbs up button on the way out. And no matter what, thanks for watching.